ফোকাস কি ওরা তো অলরেডি স্ট্রিমিং দিচ্ছে এটা লাগবে কি আমার এইটা লাগবে
একটু আমার লিখতে হবে ইয়ে আছে না চক আছে ঠিক আছে হ্যালো হ্যালো
যদি উঠতে গেলে লাগবে
hello sound is clear yeah hello hello we shall start now okay good afternoon everyone so first I would like to know how many students are from our Belur campus everyone is from Belur campus huh you are from Narendpur from agriculture and this huh agriculture and biotechnology how many of you 3 others are all Belur rest of you are maths department here huh sports science and yoga and how many are from the Sanskrit department okay so we have a mix of both arts and sciences anyway so I will speak in English only no one has problem with English first of all I want to tell you the contents of my lecture I have to take only 2 lectures this one and probably the next one if I need to speak more then probably but I think I will not take more than 2 lectures I think 4 hours introduction is enough first of all my introduction will be a little bit technical so even though it is introduction because why it would be technical because mostly our science people for example science people do not have any background in philosophy so in fact there is some informal discussion going generally whenever people talk about philosophy or psychology some informal discussion does take place but generally formally what are the topics discussed in philosophy or in psychology or in art subject generally our science people they do not know now why I think that I am qualified to speak about the philosophy first of all in IIT Kanpur when I was studying we had to do humanities courses even though I was a computer science student so apart from our science subjects all the students had to do 5 courses in humanities and social sciences so I did a few philosophy courses in IIT before becoming a monk so in fact I was taught by philosophy one of our professors was Muhammad Ali Shaida so he was a Jamia Islamia University person so he taught us communism I have studied in fact communism formally I studied communism under him then German idealism and also existentialism so I think because I have formal training in philosophy so I think Western philosophy so I think I am qualified to talk about the technical aspects okay so no because why we have to also study this technical because we have to know that what these people are talking about otherwise generally we don't have any idea what these philosophical people they are talking and we think that they are very non serious about it generally we know that some of the issues are not solved so in philosophy in ethics so most of the issues are open ended in fact, the political systems also, political philosophy also, most of the systems are open ended. You cannot just say one philosophical system is better than another philosophical system, but you have to have some criteria by which you can actually decide things. So, generally those criteria we try to discuss rather than the details. Okay, so what is philosophy? Most of the people know that philosophy word has come from this Greek philosophia. So, philo is love or sophia is knowledge, love of knowledge. So, at the time of Socrates, Aristotle, Plato, this philosophy was considered the in fact like the most glorious subject at that time. So, like for example, now everyone goes into sciences. So, at that time everyone used to go to philosophy. So, it was the philosophy. So, all the brilliant people used to study philosophy at that time. So, philosophy is love of knowledge. Later on this philosophy had there were several branches of philosophy which were developed over the period. So, some of the branches we should know. It is first is epistemology. Epistemology is nature of I should write it down, for example. So, important branches of philosophy. These things are there in Wikipedia. So, you can either you can say branches or you can say it has now it has become a cross field of study. So, the doctors also study, and then humanities people also, social science people also study psychology and philosophy. Earlier it was the exclusive domain of philosophy. We know about psychology. Now it is multidisciplinary. What is it? Nature of person, nature of mind. Because human study is also important part of philosophy. Fourth is ethics. What is it? And fifth is aesthetics. So, what we consider good. So, ethics is what is, as we know, what is good and bad. What is good and bad? Conduct. So, okay, these are our 5 important branches of philosophy. So, ontology is the nature of reality. So, different philosophers have different take on it. Then, for example, materialism, German idealism is idealism. Okay, so, you have lot of people, for example, communism believes in materialism, and our Hegel and other people, they also believed in materialism. But most of the people differ in what they differ is in our psychology. For example, communism, they say communism, existentialism or anarchy, these people all anarchy is also a philosophical subject, basically it says that because we are not able to prove that there any system exists, so no system exists. But as the science people know that the absence of proof does not consist a proof of absence. Okay? Our science mathematics people, so if the proof does not exist, that does not mean we have proved non-existence of the thing. So that is why anarchy actually what it says is there no system exists. So it started in our 70s, this movement of anarchy with the hippie culture, hippie movement. So they were against all the systems. So you have, so those people who have studied the hippie movement or have known about the hippie movement of 1970s, 80s, they will know this. So they rejected every kind of system, every kind of rule. And so the philosophical system which actually they followed like was a lot of poets and lot of singers also, they followed that movement, like for example Pink Floyd and other people, they say they did not believe in any rules. So these all psychology as well. So for example our political philosophy like communism and liberal democracy, right, conservatism, all these are also philosophy, but these are political philosophies. So they have also to deal with psychology, because they have to give a definition of what human beings are like, and by that actually that comes under this one. So okay, so every philosophy has to tell about these aspects. So for example, they have to tell what is reality. Okay, so for example, our Bengali people, they have a lot of interest in communism, so they might know like this philosophy, we have socio-economic and political explanation to all the things. So for the reality also, so how our scientific dialectism, material dialectism, at least you might have heard the terms, like what these things are. So the Bengali people, they will know that, they might have heard this, because generally in political discourses, these terms will crop again and again, like scientific dialectism, material dialectism, and socio-political economic theories. So what is socio-political economic? So all things are, these topics are connected in social, political, economic issues of the world, of the society. So that is communism. So, but communism is different from our liberal democracy, because communism, as you might know, it does not give too much importance to individuality. But now modern day, our liberal people, they actually this sphere for individuality. No? They don't want to give this individuality and freedom and other things. So when you talk about individual and freedom and still say that you are communism, you believe in communism, actually you have not studied communism. So liberal democracy and communism, though both are left, so you have got in left philosophies also there are finer differences, as in the right philosophies. Right philosophies also you have finer distinctions, like for you have this communism, you have got conservative democracy also in the right wing philosophy, or for example RSS, BJP has also got for example fascism also is there in the right wing. So you have got different philosophies, but each philosophy, what I want to tell you is, has to tell about these things, what they consider reality, for example. And see, even though I am talking about Western philosophy, at least first 2 points and last point, for example ethics, you see that our Indian philosophies also have to deal with it. So for example, the ontology, they have to say what is world, what is God and what is individual being, what is jiva, this triangle and the connection on that. So, that is actually ontology. Say they have to tell about whether it is Vishishtadvait, Advait or Dvait or Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism. Everyone has to tell about this, what their view of world is. And after that, for telling about their view of the world, they have to tell about the method of knowledge. So, there the epistemology comes into picture, like the methods, the proofs. So, again there are problems with epistemology as well as ontology. And so, the epistemology also has got problems, like how do you prove things, and whether you have if you have proved something, whether does that things exists or not. So, for example, if you hear about this this is in 20th century, the logical positivism school. So, they said, for example, if you prove something exists, if you have proof, then the thing really exists. So, mathematical proof or like scientific experiments if you do, then the things exist, for example. So, that was Vienna circle. So, you have but whereas but now actually people do not believe that fully. So, some compromise they do, but actually because of Gödel incompleteness theorem and this Kant, he also had some he also wrote about it, like for example, critique of practical reason, critique of pure reason. So, critique of pure reason, the book that Kant wrote, so that was that dealt with our formal sciences. Pure reason means pure thinking, as mathematics people they know, it is most of the things are axiomatic. And so, axiomatic does not need to do with anything with the world, for example. So, they talk about Euclidean geometry, non-Euclidean geometry, all kinds of hypothetical situations. In fact, our world is not Euclidean, it is actually non-Euclidean. Because the space time both are connected and you have space time, it is actually kind of hyperbolic. So, because invariant is physics people will know, but physics people are not there. So, invariant is x square plus y square plus z square minus c square t square. So, because of this t square, our science people will know that it is kind of your hyperbola, equation of hyperbola. And if you have studied in school mathematics, it is x square by a square minus y square by b square is equal to 1. Our arts people, they remember? Equation of hyperbola, parabola, ellipse. Have you heard this? No? You have studied. Okay. If you have studied, then basically you can again see the wiki and you can get it. So, because of this minus term, so I am telling you, so you have this plus term in the your ellipse, and in hyperbola it is minus term. So, because in our Einsteinian spatial theory of relativity, we have minus term. So, because of that whole world, actually it becomes like bent. So, you must have heard that, for example, the space is bent where there is mass. For example, it is bent near sun, near earth, near moon, that you have heard. So, you everywhere you read it, how much it is bent, that is our science people can tell. But because of this bending it becomes a hyperbolic geometry. It is not your Euclidean geometry. For example, if you how it is bent, so basically when it is bent, something is bent, then what happens is, if you draw something and calculate the area, it will be more than when you draw a circle in the plane area. And so, if you have a field, for example, here you have a field like the farming field, and you measure the area, and something it is in the mountain. If you again have a field and take the area, there it will be more. So, that is how you know that the world is actually bent. So, this is important, you see. Why? Because this is all also part of your philosophy. So, this ontological nature of reality. So, nature of reality, these things actually you have to talk about. How what is the world, your space, your time, your mass. So, normally what people used to believe in materialistic philosophy, actually after your quantum mechanics, that does not hold. So, even philosophical people are actually in a lot of problems. They are material because their idea of this material, they had whole philosophy built on substance and attributes. So, that kind of substance does not exist anymore. So, not only our epistemology, we have problem here, we have problem here, we have problem here, everywhere we have problem. So, all the fields of philosophy actually has lot of open problems, open-ended problems. So, how is you have to ask what is reality? But when you try to take the help of physics, take the help of whatever other fields are, actually science. So, science they have to take help of to answer this question, what is the nature of reality, and then they have to they have to make some thesis, and then they have to say that what is the reality. So, earlier there were actually two groups. One was like the idealistic group that said that the world is ideas, like Plato. Plato said that the world is formed of ideas, and our opposite school was the world is formed of matter, materialistic philosophy. Only these two important, other philosophies were there, but these two were important philosophies. For example, in India actually most of the people were idealistic people, like they said that the world is form of ideas. So, for example, Vedanta says that world is mithya. Buddhists also said this, but you had Charvaka and other people, they believed in materialistic philosophy. But both have got the problem if you want to prove it. So, if you want to prove using our physics and science, so science is actually, it is capable of talking about what is the reality. So, everyone knows that we can do experiment. We have actually known about the existences of electron, proton, neutron. We had and we can see the galaxies through our telescopes. So, we have some good idea. We have a good idea of universe, not a complete idea, because even the nature of electron, proton, other things we are not sure, the wave particle duality, other. Yes. So, what I am saying is, see, science only wants to manipulate things. So, that is, it is interested, but philosophy is interested in this. So, philosophy has to tell about the nature of reality. So, ontological argument, all they have to do, they have to tell that. No? So, even though science does not want to say, actually, but that is only modern movement. Earlier, science also used to say, no, we can't tell about reality, only because after this quantum mechanics and our general theory of relativity. So, it is actually all very recent things. So, now in fact, philosophy is also changing their viewpoint, just as the scientists have changed their viewpoint. No, we cannot talk about the reality, it's axiomatic system. So, we can, but actually if you see, if you are Hilbert and other people, for example, even Newtonian mechanics, they said that these things are true. For example, that is why they said this is a law, for example, the law of the world. So, conservation of energy, conservation of mass, conservation of momentum, these are all laws. Thermodynamics is these three laws. So, what they want to say, what they were saying when they were telling that these are laws, means they were saying that they are telling about this world. Okay? And so, actually earlier people used to think that these things can be proven, whether these are actually things of the world, these are actually real or not. So, what is the problem of what the problem of philosophers was, actually it was also the problem of scientists. Okay.
In ancient time,
Huh.
many ideas are there. That is, the different types of observations are there.
Yes.
But it is not validated, or it is not proved.
No. So, a lot of validation was there. So, how do you validate the ideas? So, basically you do experiments, and then
Science is a tool for validation.
so in fact, earlier also, for example, in Greek times also you had got scientists. They had, for example, Archimedes, etc. So, they had also made some observation, but because their tools were crude, so their observation were kind of approximations. So, they could not divide the things up to the electron proton. So, they said something else about, but they were all talking about their observations also. And to some extent they were also able to manipulate the world using their knowledge. So, that is why they said this is the real knowledge about the world. That is what they say. That is, for example, when Aristotle also and the Greek people also said that, for example, we have 5 elements. With that also with that knowledge they were able to manipulate things. So, you have this all alchemy tradition, and with that alchemy tradition modern chemists were born. And so, this modern chemists did not come from the sky, like from heaven. They were actually the alchemist people who studied the earlier nature of reality, and with that they manipulate the world, and later on they were able to find out, okay, no, there are many more elements. So, science develops, okay, that is fine. So, even the philosophy also develops. So, it is actually a journey. Don't divide the things like it is ancient, it is modern, it is medieval. It is a continuous journey. So, ancient things get modified into the medieval knowledge, and medieval knowledge gets modified into the modern knowledge. So, even the modern knowledge also, you see, it is continuously changing, because as long as you see, for example, now we are saying whatever about the world, it might get modified. So, because once bitten, twice shy. Once you see Newton said that these are the law of gravitation, but after that it was modified by Einstein. So, Einstein after that he did not say that law of spatial law of gravity, spatial law of relativity, sorry, general, now they say spatial theory of relativity, general theory of relativity. Okay, they do not say spatial theory, spatial law of relativity, general law of relativity. They once bitten, twice shy. So, already the Newtonian mechanics was proved wrong. It was proved wrong. So, world is not, so even Galilean thing was also proved wrong. Like Galileo said, the earth, for example, sun is the center. So, now actually neither the sun is the center nor the earth is the center. You can say that the galaxy Milky Way is the center, even that is moving. Okay. And the spatial theory of relativity says that actually you cannot know which one is moving. So, if the frame of reference it moves at the constant velocity. So, both were actually very strict, they were not flexible. If you see that both were, even the Galileo should not have insisted so much that the sun is the center. No, modern things say that neither sun nor earth nor galaxy, nothing is the center. Okay, so the spatial theory of relativity, if a frame of reference is moving with a constant velocity, you can never know. Okay, so our physics people can tell, maths people have also studied. So, actually if you see that by special theory of relativity, we cannot have any frame of reference. Okay, so even you see, so that is why he should not have actually insisted. He should have been flexible, or he should have studied his system much more, because even the sun was moving. But actually he believed actually that sun was stationary. So that actually errors happen. So, but we should understand things in hindsight. Anyway, because we have got hindsight, so that is why we can actually make proper judgments now. Anyway, so whatever is there, even though we know that many of these problems are unsolvable, but we have to study it. So philosophy has to study. So anyway, first two we need not study, but each philosophy has to, communism for example, has to tell you about the nature of world, then nature of knowledge. So nature of knowledge is actually they say that scientific dialectism, material dialectism is there, the method of knowledge, as well as your political systems. Like for example, they say that what is this dialectism? I think everyone knows about it. Raise your hands. No? So basically it is nothing. When you have got a thesis, when you have got an idea, it will have an antithesis. So thesis, then antithesis will come, and with that both of them will be harmonized, or you have to find a solution, and after a solution is found, it becomes synthesis. So you have this thesis, antithesis, and that will become synthesis. Again this synthesis will become a thesis, then you have got its antithesis, and again this thesis. This is called, this kind of development of ideas and a world is called dialectism. Thesis, then you have got antithesis, it will become synthesis. Again this will become thesis, and it will have antithesis, and again, and this will go on. So for example, very interesting, in your in our slide we directly start with ethics, but I wanted to talk about the philosophy. So tribal, you start with tribal, then its antithesis, tribal is hunting gathering. So you have got this agricultural society. So it will become rural society. And rural society, you have got antithesis as urban. So you have got this as kingdoms. As synthesis. From kingdoms, you have got nobles, and then you have got feudal society. From feudal society, you have got your merchants and industrial, so you have got capitalism. And here you say that in capitalism you have got a lot of problems, then they say that you have got communism. This is actually our Marx said. So, from capitalism you have got haves and have nots. With this caste struggle, you will have communism. And then you can have utopia. Actually, many people, they talk about communism, but they should understand that our Marxism did not say that communism is the final system. They said that they want utopia actually. Okay. So, when I have said this, but this is the political dialectic, scientific that they talk about. So, according to Marx, the socio-political economic history of the world is like this. So, from tribal society, how your final communism will come. Okay. So, this is there in the Das Capita. So, if you Das Capita, you will study briefly, this is mentioned there. Now, I would like to say that here, in fact, I studied this from our Muhammad Ali Shaida. He said there are a lot of criticism. People do not know about criticisms. Any kind of philosophy will have criticism, because if you go into deep into this thing, so first of all, again, hindsight is okay, fine. So, with hindsight you can tell about lot of things, you can talk about lot of things. So, all this is actually hindsight up to capitalism. So, you actually see now that capitalism is there. But people actually see, people become, when they study about this, they become, they study this analysis, with this analysis is very good. So, people become, they think that this analysis can analyze everything. And then when they talk about the future, then they try to apply the same analysis. But the thing is, one is hindsight and here is the foresight. So, hindsight is always powerful, but foresight, no one can actually talk about the future of the world in certain terms. For example, Marx, he was a person of 19th century. So, how could he talk about, like, for example, the Google and the internet revolution? For he would not have known. So, now for example, the industry, Google is the mega industry, but where are the have-nots? The people of Google are also elite. And the people working in Google, they are not laborers. And where are the chimneys? Where is the smoke? Where is the production? Where is the theory about the theory of communism, the theory of Marx is, he talks about, for example, the psychology, he talks, see, again psychology also we have to say what is the essence of human beings. So, in like the nature of reality, the nature of knowledge, and in the nature of person, each philosophy has to tell what is the nature of the person. Okay, for the nature of, for example, our Vedanta says that the nature of human beings is Atma, which is Satchitananda, existence, consciousness, bliss. So, even the Western philosophies will talk about what are the, so for example, someone will say that it is knowledge, it is Descartes said it is thinking, and education is said it is learning. So, you have different people saying different things about the communism said that it is actually creation. So, if you create something, so man is creative. So, essentially man is a creature of creation. So, he creates things. The difference between human beings and animals according to Karl Marx is man can create. So, man can work, man can labor. So, labor is the essence of human beings. So, if one does not do any labor, then he will be dissatisfied. Actually, he was a European, so he said this. But Indians, they are very lazy people. They will not believe this. In fact, they can be very lazy also. They will not create for whole life. So they can be lazy for whole life. But anyway, he was a European, so he said this, that the essence of human being is labor. So in his philosophy, this labor is a very important part. Then he said that this capitalist society, the thing is that the laborer, he labors for the capitalist. So he becomes a tool of the capitalist. So that is why he does not own his own product. He does not own his creative activity. So that is why he becomes very dissatisfied. And that is why the class struggle will happen. Okay, so why this class struggle happens, he has given the reasoning also, this justification. Because according to him, so a man has to create, but when a laborer creates, he does not know about what is the final product. Again, industry, he also said this also. For example, because of the division of labor. So at that time, 19th century, after the industrial revolution, so you might have seen the movie Modern Times. So it was after that. So in that you had this conveyor belt, and every person will do a small bit of work to create a mechanism. So he even does not know why he is doing that. He is fixing a nut bolt. So he does not know that. So with this, Marx said he becomes very much dissatisfied. He does not own the tool, he does not own the process, he does not own the final product. So because his essence is creativity, he becomes very dissatisfied. And that is why this struggle will happen. And with that, he said the solution is communism. And finally, they said that it is it is an intermediate step for utopia, where utopia, the man will be free for his to exercise his creative power. So that is the final goal of communism. Communism itself, he said that it is intermediate. So many people who say that they believe that communism is a best form of, actually even Marx did not believe that communism is the best form of political system. Yeah. Actually, he said that we are going to break this cycle. So that is what he said, that every Marx said that in fact he was very much against this ethics again. So he said that ethics, the laws of morality, they are made by the capitalist. And because the capitalist is in charge of making the laws of ethics, so he will twist the laws of ethics in such a way to suit himself. And that is why actually the proletariat, the communists should not believe in ethics. And whole system is so rotten that it cannot be modified, it cannot be changed, and whole system should be broken and reconstructed. So it is, he is actually try to break this cycle of scientific talent. But again, you see that foresight is problematic. So we know that even this communism is not like perfect system, like even Russia broke, and our China also has started on the capitalistic path. So we know that this also, he was not able to break this cycle of synthesis, antithesis, synthesis. So again, but when you talk about what is the antithesis, yes, people say that the antithesis is there. So after this, the antithesis of this, actually our Shaida said that it is existentialism, and even Gandhism also. So, he said this existentialism is individual, like what here it is community is important. So, he said that this existentialism where these concept of personal being, individual being is important, that is the antithesis of communism. Yes. Huh? Socialism is actually it is a political philosophy, and communism is also, it is not a political, it is a political system. No, communism is actually it is talking about a system like, for example, democracy, like that kind of thing. So, he is talking about like how the people will rule the other people. So, that is communism. So, it is not exactly philosophy, it is actually a political system, and we should give credit to Marxism that it is the first philosophical system which was actually practically state was formed on that. So, we talk about Vedanta, equality, but you see very difficult to form a state on Vedanta. So, in fact, Vedanta talks about equality, whereas we have got a lot of caste inequality, Brahman, Kshatriya, these problems are there. So, you should give credit to communism. So, whatever might be the shortcomings, but a state was actually the credit not goes to Marx, it goes to Lenin. So, Lenin actually modified communism because he saw that in communism you have only laborers, with laborers you cannot actually make a political system. So, he involved the farmers. So, in the Russian Revolution, so the farmers played a big part in it in forming the state. So, he modified actually the communism of Karl Marx, and he made see why he added in the philosophy why these laborers, why these farmers are also like these have-nots, whereas actually farmers are not have-nots because they have got fields, they can tile they are owner of their own work. So, but he actually modified this communism and added even the farmers into this proletariat. And now actually you can see that even our intellectuals also they add themselves. So, how they can do it, that is very difficult to understand, but you see the people of Jadavpur, JNU, they feel that they are also have-nots, whereas they have all actually facilities, but anyway. So, but this is what actually communism is about. Okay, so just to give an idea, so philosophy, we think that philosophy is not that serious, but people doing philosophy are quite serious. Like for example, Karl Marx gave up everything and he went to England because he thought that this movement will start from England, because lot of this industry was there, no? After industrial revolution, we had lost lot of mills. So, he thought that England is the place from where the red revolution will start, the bloody revolution will start, but actually it did not start there, it started from Russia because of Lenin. So, Lenin actually he understood things like, so Lenin modified few things and Mao was more practical, so he modified still further things like. Mao was ruthless, and he not only he took from Lenin and he actually kind of made it like a monarchy. So, he kind of made it like a dictatorship. So, he was much more ruthless in that, but he did not add to any philosophy, but he started this like for example, he was antithesis of Nehru. So, he worked for primary education and small scale industry, whereas Nehru went for big institutions, big dams and big industries. So, after that it took 20-30 years, but now you see that the Chinese people, they are now they have become very entrepreneurs and they have got strong manufacturing. Whereas in 1950s and 60s, both Indians and Chinese were considered to be lazy people, like. So Tamasic, we are both very much similar, like eating rice and sleeping all the time, that kind of people. We are both like that. So anyway, so here enough of the philosophy things, so we can come to ethics. So ethics and aesthetics. Ethics is now, so these are theoretical part. Like for example, the ontological arguments, what is the nature of reality and what is the nature of knowledge. So nature of knowledge we need to manipulate world. So epistemology is needed not independently, it is needed to answer all the other things. Because other things you need to answer, no? So for example, if you ask in ethics what is good and bad, you need to have some kind of logic, and for logic you need to have this theory of epistemology. So epistemology independently is not needed. It is needed in Vedanta, because in Vedanta you have knowledge freeze. So your freedom is dependent on knowledge, so there it is independent. But in other philosophies, knowledge actually is needed to answer questions of other branches, like ontology, what is the nature of reality, what is reality, that you need to have answers. Like for example, mathematics also, what are theorems, how you prove theorems, your modus ponens, modus tollens, yes, implication and or exclusive or those kind of logics, Boolean logic, etc. That is your epistemology. So, very normal things. Don't think that when I am talking these big terms, technology, so these things are very abnormal. No. When you talk about when you go to the depth, you see they are talking about normal things only, but just in depth. So when you do some logic, you do some Boolean logic, and so A or B, A is false, so B should be true. This kind of logic. So modus ponens, A implies B. So A is true, then B is also true, this kind of things. And so for example, in Sanskrit you have wherever there is smoke, there is fire. So there I am seeing the smoke, so there should be fire, for example. So this kind of logic, these things are there in the epistemology, this modus ponens, what I am talking about, anumana. In Sanskrit it is you have 6 things are upama, anuman, pratyaksha, so and shabda praman, arthapatti and abhav praman. So you have got this abhav praman is also there in 6 pramanas are there. So these are epistemology of Vedanta. So epistemology of maths is you have got axiomatic systems, Frege system is there, and all kinds of piano's arithmetic system, piano arithmetic, that is also axiomatic system. So all axiomatic systems are actually they are methods of. So if you have done mathematical logic, that is epistemology. Okay, so mathematical logic you have done this subject, this. So mathematical, the things that mathematical logic talks about is actually epistemology. Okay. So epistemology is needed to prove things of other, like what is the nature. So even now, for example, we know that things are we cannot talk about, but at least that we have to say. So that we have to say that we cannot talk about these things. So so how this epistemology is connected to ontology, that we have to say. So ontology is there. Then we have got psychology. Nothing much to say. Then ethics and aesthetics. So other things are little bit theoretical, then we come to the practical aspect of philosophy. So what is ethics? What is ethics? Next. It's good. How do you? Okay. So these are outline introductory remarks over. So what is ethics? In philosophy, see our other things, actually the epistemology is input, like we are seeing the words. So for example, in Sanskrit people, your jnanendriyas, And then after that, like in science, we have to manipulate the world. Okay. So, one is input, other is output. So, input is methods of knowledge, this is input. Now, when you work, when you act, so what is the manner of action? So, that our ethics deals with. So, what is actually the main question of ethics is code of ethics. Okay, but we have already talked about philosophical issues, is a branch of philosophy that I have already talked. Okay, so what is ethics about? Ethics is actually good and bad. So, we want to make a judgment which act is good, which act is bad. It actually works everywhere. So, you have now this ethics, field of ethics, even though it seems like no one studies ethics, but everywhere you see you have to deal with ethics. So, when you talk about this code of laws, ethics is code of laws. So, when I say that it is a code of laws, then we say that no, I do not want to believe, I do not. But actually you see our constitution is a code of laws. So, actually it is a ethical philosophy. Each constitution of each country is actually a kind of ethical philosophy. So, our preamble, it talks about what is ethical, and the constitution lays down on the rules, on the commandments. So, even though when we put the word of like Moses brought us the commandment of God, then we actually do not like it. But actually you see, if you think it deeply, each and every constitution has commandments. So, what is good, what is bad, and what is, if you do something bad, you will be punished, and you will be some kind of punishment will be given, you will be fined, or you will be jailed if it is more. So, the ethics deals with the action, the behavior and the action, what is good and what is bad. And aesthetics. So, aesthetics, again you think that okay, aesthetics no one deals with, but actually you see wherever you make a judgment on the quality, that is aesthetics. So, when you say that this mobile is better than that mobile, so actually you are dealing with aesthetics. So, whole of the commercial field does with depends on aesthetics, whole of the entertainment field depends on this aesthetics. In fact, in your evaluation system in academics, you are saying you are A grade, you are B grade. So, this is aesthetics. I am making a judgment, this boy is better than this boy, this girl is better than this girl, and she is good for a job, she is not good for a job. I take interview. So, these are actually aesthetics. These are the field of aesthetics. So, our okay. Actually, I have to finish first this whole. So, no, just 2 sentences I have to say.
So, what I understood from it is, like ethics can't be static. Ethics can't be static. Static in the sense what I feel like today, this is correct. Maybe that is not correct tomorrow. That will not be something like it.
These are actually a good question. So, actually these are all branches of ethics. So, again if you ask this question, I have to go into depth of ethics. So, okay, but if you have asked, then I have to. So, ethics again has some branches. 3 branches are important. So, one branch is actually your meta ethics. So, meta ethics talks about ethics. Then other is actually ontological theoretical aspects of theory of ethics, and third is practical ethics. So, again ethics has got 3 meta ethics. So, you ask this question whether such an objective criteria exists or not, whether ethics is something called ethics is there, why one should do good and not do bad, and why should there be punishment, Why should there be, for example, this capital punishment? So, these kind of questions are meta-ethics. So, where you ask questions about ethics, like metaphysics, when you ask questions about physics, that is metaphysics. Okay, yeah, meta-logic, logic when you ask questions about logical systems, like what our Gödel did, whether the systems can be complete and consistent. So, he was talking about this meta-mathematics. So, he was asking questions about the mathematics. He is asking questions about piano arithmetic, our mathematics people will know. Said that this Gödel's incompleteness theorem and that even that consistency of mathematics is not provable, because mathematics is greater than our second order predicate logic. So, mathematics it is even you can also see in wiki, they have a lot of and good they have good and very briefly but very good discussion on your Gödel's incompleteness theorem, these very fundamental aspects of logic and epistemology. So, these kind of questions, when you ask questions about ethics, that is meta-ethics. After that, when you fix each philosophy, when it says that okay, there is some kind of ethics, because we see that actually each society, every society has to believe that, except for one is there, what I say, that this our hippie culture is there, no. So, anarchy only is the only one philosophy which says that there is no ethical system, no political system, but you see in modern time no one actually believes that. Because even our very liberal people also, for example, someone commits some crime, they will not support it. They will not say that okay, this criminal, he is fine. So, there is no ethics. So, he is same as the victim. So, victim and criminal both are same. We should treat them equally. Like they will not say that, and they are going to punish the criminal. At most, they will say that no, capital punishment should not be given. But if you tell them, okay, you live with that criminal, so they will refuse to do it actually. So, they will say that okay, he is also a human being, but you say that you live with him, you adopt him, they will not adopt him. And so, everyone has in the modern society has, even though whatever their philosophical beliefs are, inside they will believe yes, there is some kind of ethical system. So, we do not know about the ethical system or ethical objective or whether it is fully subjective or not, but we have some certain idea that at least even if it is not there, we should actually, how you are going to justify that I do not know, but people say even if there is not a system, we should have a system. So, this is all human societies. Even if there is no natural system, we should make a artificial system, so that we should be able to live it. But again, if you ask why should we be able to live it, then whole thing. So, this why you can always ask the question. So, when you start asking this whys, then you go to metaethics, and metaethics, as you can understand, most of the things actually finally are not answerable. So, anyway, so when we come to this conclusion that okay, there should be some kind of ethics, then next step is your theory of ethics. Then you have to have like some criteria, like for example, there are different criteria, not necessarily religious criteria. So, you have got like criteria of peace, like coexistence, like happiness, and a Bahujan Hitaya, Bahujan Sikhaya, and a Sarvajan Hitaya, Sarvajan Sukhaya, all kinds of, or the person, individual philosophy, they say that don't worry about the Sarvajan, don't worry about the individual in front is important. So, all kinds of criteria are there. And so, for economics, whichever field you go, they will have different criteria. For example, economics, they are always how they consider that world is more a better place, they will only calculate the GDP, for example. So, GDP of the or at most human index also, but you will see that human index there is mostly it is financial thing only. So, even though our now a lot of welfare index they talk about, but you see that they will see only the financial thing. If you go to police, for example, policeman, he will say that society free from crime is the best place. So, our goal is a society that is free from crime. If you go to, for example, a doctor, he will say that the healthy world is important. So, okay. So, if you go to an environmentalist, he will say that a world with a good environment to live. If you go to a scientist, he will say that our goal is knowledge, for example. If you go to, for example, a humanist, he will say the happiness of the society. So, different people will have different goals. So, depending on the goals, your ethics will actually change. And you cannot have one thing about the goal is these kind of goals, you cannot have multiple goals. Like in mathematics, you have got this optimization problems. No? So, optimization problems, you cannot have two objectives. If you have got two objective functions and you know optimization problems, our other people, you have got this optimization, no? Economics, in economics, you have to do some rural economics course. Huh?
That's in agriculture and rural development.
Acha. So, anyway, when you have this in economics also, you have got this, you have to some objective function you have to optimize, like. So, if you have got these two objective functions, a lot of problems are there, and in fact, John Nash, that Beautiful Mind movie you might have seen. So, if you have got multiple agents and if you have got multiple functions and multiple constraints, then the whole thing become very hodgepodge, and in fact, no stable solution is there. Things become very, very difficult, almost impossible to solve. In fact, in some cases, it is impossible to solve. That is why he got Nobel Prize too. He showed that actually in all economic scenarios, you cannot go to the optimum value. So, some kind of intervention is needed actually to get to change your system to something else, for example, to where you want to lead. So, for example, the capitalist idea that everyone looks after himself, then system will improve, actually that does not work. Okay. So, John Nash, when everyone, this idea is there, no? You must have heard about this, no? So, in the capitalist this greedy idea, so everyone looks after his own greed, then the society will improve. So, everyone looks after himself, in fact. So, but for example, I will give this small story, because already 1.5 hours this kind of philosophical lectures, people actually will get bored. So, I will give this paradox and stop. So, actually we will come to this. So, next class we will directly start from the ethics, okay, but let me give you the problem of this multiple kind of objective criteria. So, actually when you have got this what I want to say is that when you have got objective criteria, different objective criteria, you will have to select one criteria. You cannot do like 80% this, 20% this and make one function, or you say that first I will look at this, then I will look at different. So, first criteria, a threshold, I will care about it for a threshold, then after that I change the criteria, and then another thing I will. So, these kind of things actually are a lot of problematic. For example, I will first think about the food of everyone, for all then I will consider the health, and then after that I will consider the education, then I will consider the economics. So, these are thresholds. So, at a certain threshold I will consider whether whole population have got the food. And after sufficient people, everyone has got the food, then I will take care of their, for example, different criteria. So for health, and then after their primary health, I will consider their education. After they are sufficiently educated, so this kind of criteria also, these are the methods of actually clubbing together multiple criteria. So there are many methods of actually clubbing, like in mathematics you have got piecewise linear functions. So you have got a lot of functions you club into and make one objective. So these are tricks actually. But this kind of tricks, to be effective, the quality of all functions should be same thing. Like you can have this, so you can substitute apple and bananas, for example. So you take 1 kg apple, 50 and half kg banana, or you can take half kg apple and 1 kg banana. But if you have to select between whether half kg and number of mobiles which are different qualities, so you will not be able to do it. So the criteria can be clubbed together only if they are of the same quality, similar quality. So how do your food and health, how you are going to combine it? So that kind of problem is there, real problems, real world problems. So mathematical you will be able to do something, but in real world does not work like that. So anyway, so the problem of Nash, like what I am talking about, that when you say that everyone looks after himself, then the society, whole society will improve. So that is this greedy algorithm, the greedy method. We call it is the capitalist method. So in fact, that is the American dream, like everyone looks after his own greed. So that is the capitalist idea also, that each one will work for himself. So this is called our prisoner's paradox. So there are two prisoners. So they had done some bank robbery, and while doing that bank robbery, they unintentionally killed a guard. So they did not want to kill the guard, because if you kill the guard, then people will actually try to search and the punishment will be more, but they unintentionally killed the guard. But the thing is, the authorities, they did not know that which of these two persons had killed the guard. So then they told the prisoners that, okay, if anyone will tell, so if you don't tell, no one tells, then both of you will get 15 years of prison. But if someone tells, then you both the person who will tell, after 1 year he will be discharged, and the person who does not tell, he will get 25 years of prison. If both of you tell, then both will get 20 years only. So the best scenario is actually both should not tell. Okay, so if both do not tell, then the thing will be that both will get some amount of punishment and then they will get out. But if one tells, the other will get too much of the punishment. So, okay, John Nash says that this is the solution, that both should not tell. But when both do not tell, each person will think, okay, the other person is not telling, let me tell, then I will get only 1 year. So finally, the stable solution, the best solution is actually unstable. So the solution will not remain there. So both of not telling, the solution will not remain. That means it is an unstable solution. And one person will tell, other person will also tell, and the stable solution is both will tell, and both will get 20 years, 25 years of punishment. So this is the problem of greedy system. So actually, in a multivariate, multi-agent world, multi-agent system, John Nash says that actually each one optimizing his local optimal is not the global optimal. Actually, this is a technical term there, that our optimization, the local optima is not the. So locally, people will try to optimize, and then it will go to the worst case. And there is no situation, no method to escape from this kind of situation. So it happens in your economics. So if because you have got multiple people, multiple people involved, multiple firms involved, they will try to optimize themselves. So, there are situations where this win-win, this our management people, they are very fond of this term win-win. So, where there are situations where there is no win-win situation. So, there are actually cases like this in prisoner's dilemma, where each one trying to improve his situation does not actually improve. So, people in the society in such cases, people have to do cooperative work. They have to cooperate with each other to get to the best solution. If they do not cooperate, if they are actually they work on individual basis, actually they will not be able to. So, now you understand today's discussion, like there are a lot of issues in ethics. So, it is not something that can be actually done in a non-serious way. So, a lot of technical issues, there are ontological arguments involved, there are epistemological involved, and you have got. So, aesthetics we are not going to deal with, we are only dealing with this ethics, which has to do with this good and bad. And even though it seems like you may actually not need this, but in society everywhere you will see this, this very ubiquitous, everywhere it is omnipresent, everywhere it is present, these issues, even though you do not study, you have to deal with these things in a regular basis, the aesthetics and your ethics, and things are actually, you are affected by it. So, not just in your even your ethics, in research, everywhere you have to deal. So, that is why I said I will take this introductory class for introductory class of ethics, because I want to give you some basics, the foundation of ethics. And things are, they actually give a lot of good hints and pointers to how to solve these problems, how to solve these dilemmas. So, thank you very much. Next class we will actually talk about ethics, because I am also, even though the time is not, still half an hour is there, but I am tired, so that is why. Okay, it is fine. Thank you very much. Okay. But anyway, and even though I have given thanks, anyone, if there are any questions, I will be glad to answer. You can talk about anything, because this is a kind of informal class, and informal class, and probably you will not get any other opportunity to ask questions about philosophy and ethics. Okay, next class you can ask questions. So, I like interaction. So, you can ask questions. No, I don't stop, I will not stop you answer. Even if you think that it is a very stupid question, please ask, because there are no stupid questions. And so, even if there are basic questions, you please ask, because all the questions are actually about this ethics are fundamental questions. So, you will see that the kind of questions we are asking, what is ethics, why ethics should be there. So, these are all fundamental questions. So, if there are no answers, I will tell though there are no answers, but please ask, even though you think that, you might think that it is a stupid question, but the questions are always important to understand the subject. Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Yellow.